You're listening to CinePunked. This episode, you better watch out. Hello, I'm your host, Robert J.E. Simpson, and joining me for this episode is my longtime collaborator and friend, Dr. Rachael Kelly.
Hello.
So, look, Rachael, as we record this, it is December 2022, which can mean only one thing. It is time for our festive offering. I can barely string a sentence together. I've clearly had too much festive booze already, he says, having had two mouthfuls. Look, ever since our first podcast, we have made it a point to celebrate all things Christmassy with a podcast for your delectation. And seeing as she's been banging on about it pretty much ever since we began doing these things, I have succumbed at last to Rachel's suggestion, and we're covering Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, which is a 2010 Finnish film written and directed by Jalmari Helander, which presents a rather darker festive tale, I think it's fair to say. Rachael, look, why are we here doing this and not doing something wonderfully traditional like Miracle on 34th Street?
Because I don't think enough people have seen Rare Exports. I mean, a lot of people have seen Rare Exports, which is wonderful. Kate Blanchett calls it one of her favourite films of all times, by the way. And she knows a thing or two about good films. It's just enormous fun. It's the Christmas film that I don't think you knew you needed in your life, and you definitely wouldn't necessarily go, do you know what I'm really missing? It's some dark Finnish folkloric look at the dark origins of Father Christmas in a kind of whimsical, magical way, but also with lots of gore, but also nice stuff, but also magic, but also not magic. It's fantastic. It's described as, I think it's sort of fantasy, horror, Christmas, sci-fi, something. It's just basically all the genres smushed together. And, Merry Christmas.
It is that. I mean, I will grant you, it definitely has lots of stuff smushed together. Look, you every time I mention something, this you bring this one up. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, sell it to me. I mean, imagine that I haven't as yet watched it, which I have. I mean, I watched it finally this week. I gave in at last. And I will say from the off that I don't hate it. So this is not one of those occasions, I forewarn our listeners that this is not one of those occasions where you and I are going to be complete loggerheads. So alas, we are breaking one Christmas tradition.
You didn't hate It's a Wonderful Life, did you?
I wasn't that keen on it, to be fair, and I've always
we can be friends anymore.
I've always had a weird relationship with that, and I kind of find this with a lot of Christmassy films, and I go through seasons of liking and not liking these things too. Like last year we talked about Scrooged, and from my recollection, you're not so keen on it.
Oh no, I love Scrooged. Yeah, I love Scrooge. I mean, there's lots and lots of things that I don't want to have to look at directly about Scrooge, because then I would have to sort of critically analyse it, and I don't think it stands up for critical analysis. I just want to love it. Well, this is the thing, though. I mean, I think Rare Exports, Christmas Tale, is actually just a good film anyway. And I'm not sure. I mean, I've read a lot about it over the years, and in particular, getting ready for this podcast, just trying to refresh my memory. I mean, nobody can really decide, I think, what this film is. Generally speaking, they're all like, I don't really know what it is, but it's pretty good. It's like the dark Christmas film that is completely uncynical. So how do you do that? I've watched the odd dark Christmas film. Gremlins, obviously, Krampus, others.
Black Christmas. There are three versions of that.
Well, generally speaking, when you go dark with Christmas films, you go cynical and you go, aren't people awful, and haven't we lost sight of the true meaning of, etc., etc., etc. This film is different because it's not cynical. It's kind of wholly uncynical in a way that ends up being about mass commercialization of etc. I'm trying not to do spoilers. But, I mean, it's so dark. It's so genuinely horrifying in places. I mean, it's kind of gently, even parody. I don't even think parody is the word. It's constantly got its tongue in its cheek. It's also taking itself completely seriously. Mm-hmm. And it takes the horror completely seriously as well. Mm-hmm. So when it plays horror, it's scary. And then, like, okay, that's a scraggly old guy with a big long beard running about in the net. Why is that scary? It is.
Well, I mean, okay. Before we get to the naked Santas, which I feel is probably merits a few minutes of conversation.
Sure does.
I mean, it is a weird, definitely hard to pin down film. It sort of starts off like an episode of The X-Files, almost, with them having a mysterious dig on top of a mountaintop, and it transpires that they appear to be looking for Santa's grave. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that much is before the pre-credits. I feel anything in the pre-credits is not a spoiler. Although from this point onwards, we may spoil the film for you. So
we're going to try not to, Robert. Otherwise, you'll be getting coal in your stocking this year.
Well, we do our best, but it's very difficult to
also you
critically
really
analyze.
You do not want to get on the naughty list, as this film makes it abundantly clear.
As somebody who has spent part of the last month playing the part of Father Christmas himself, you don't need to tell. You don't need to tell me about the naughty list. I've
seen the pictures. You didn't have horns.
No, that's true. And I didn't even have the horn, because that's highly inappropriate. I wasn't doing.
That would be highly inappropriate. Oh my god!
Well, I
this
did
is a Christmas show, Robert.
I did a variety of gigs. I'm doing adult gigs as well, so you see all sides in people. No, I mean, for me, like, and it kind of feels a lot of the time I'm reminded of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot of the beats, I think, and a lot of the kind of the elements that do feel like they've been lifted from that. There is something there, but then there's also this. I mean, you say it's not cynical. I think it's pretty damn cynical about Christmas, and you've got a family at the center of it who are, well, they feel very apt for this year, considering that so many of us are in the middle of a kind of economic crisis. You've got a family who don't have an awful lot. Mm-hmm. Who are really struggling to make ends meet, who are kind of dependent on the land and are kind of stuck with each other and sad. And I mean, that in itself is, I think, when the film is at its most Christmassy, is whenever you're looking at the relationship between the father and the son. And that is, I mean, there's a little bit of heartwarming in there, and that like their relationship goes through the motions, but it's quite nice. It feels quite real and genuine.
Well, they are genuinely father and son. Well,
there you go.
Yeah,
that helps.
Yeah, it's a real family affair, this movie. So I'm not going to pronounce the names right because I don't speak Finnish, but I'm going to have a damn good go at this. So apologies to any Finnish people listening. I'm just about to massacre names in your language, and I'm so sorry. So the lead actor, Jorma Tomala. Mm-hmm. His son is Onni Tomala, who plays Pietari. Mm-hmm. The director, Jalmari Helander, is married, or his sister is married to Jorma Tomala. So the little boy's mum is the set decorator, who is the sister of the director, and the director and his brother wrote the movie. So it's a proper family affair. Uh-huh. And they all kind of reunited a few years later for a big game, which, if you think this is mental, okay, the game is it's right off the scale. It's insane. It's all of the insanity of this, only it makes slightly less sense. Plus, it's got Samuel L. Jackson. Huh. And Jim Broadbent, randomly, and Felicity Huffman. I really don't know what Big Game is, but I know what this is, and this is a damn good Christmas movie.
Okay. It's hard to know where to go with this one, because I kind of, there's a few things I wouldn't mind talking about, but it's a hard one to explain to listeners. I mean, this is not the traditional Christmas tale, because the version of Santa Claus that we see in this film is not the traditional Santa Claus.
It is, though.
It's not. It's sorry. Let me rephrase that. Pedant. This is not the. This is not the Anglo-American 20th century Santa Claus that we are being shown.
No.
This is something a little bit more primal.
All of those traditions, all of these, I mean, this. Okay, am I allowed to call him the Coca-Cola Santa Claus?
Of course you can.
The jolly old guy with, the big red coat, and that's a very modern invention. And this darkness around the Father Christmas, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the Finnish name for it, but I mean the Finnish name for Father Christmas refers back to a really old figure in Finnish folklore. That is kind of more in keeping with who Father Christmas used to be in most traditions. Yeah, okay, he brought you nice things, but see if you weren't good, if you were on the naughty list, I mean, you weren't getting coal in your sack. You were getting coal in your stocking. You were possibly getting dragged off to hell. It's really dark. And yeah, I mean, so all of this kind of, crucified kind of, and don't get me, I mean, you know me, I do love a bit of Santa Claus the movie, Miracle on 34th Street, all of that very sentimental Christmas nostalgic, isn't it lovely? Aren't we all lovely and peace on earth and goodwill to all men? Yeah, that's great. But true meaning of Christmas, the true heart of Santa Claus is as black as coal. So this is very traditionally Christmassy.
Yes, it is traditionally Christmassy, and there certainly seems to be a resurgence around those myths. I get almost like a countercultural thing to kind of shift away from the sanitized versions and the commercialized versions that we have today, and possibly even just by virtue of the fact that this isn't the community that this is played out among. Also, I think lends itself to telling us a different Christmas story, because even while they have traditional Christmas trappings, I mean, traditionals in the kind of Anglo-American 20th century Christmas trappings, that's why I might say about traditional Christmas. Even though there's elements of that there, it still feels quite different from anything that I would have been brought up with. So, already we've kind of got ourselves in a very, very different scenario. And that reminds me as well that actually these traditions do alter around the world, that we don't all do things the same way. I mean, it's bad enough you sit and chat to your friends and families and you'll find that everyone has their own little traditions.
I mean, even within my sort of married family, there's a family that lived in Sweden where they celebrate Christmas on the 24th.
Yeah.
So, my son and daughter have cousins who had Christmas the day before they have Christmas. Which, yeah, these sense of tradition, or that it's this kind of universality of Christmas is just it's very kind of focused on the end of your own nose. Do you know how the film came about, Robert? Do you know the background of it? I
gather that they'd made a couple of short films.
Yeah. You seen them?
I haven't actually got around to watching them. So it was a short film in 2003 called Rare Exports Inc.
Yes.
And there was a sequel, and basically they're about a company that traps wild Santa Clauses to train them to deliver presents.
Yes, and it's basically the same actors.
Okay.
Again, it's Jorma Tommila, and I can't remember the names of the other actors who, again, they're in Rare Exports, the feature-length version. They're very, very funny. They're extremely well done. Yeah, no, little tiny Ani Tommila appears in Rare Exports, the safety instructions in 2005. So the kid who plays Petri in Rare Exports, the feature-length version, he makes a little tiny sort of, not cameo, he's quite important to the short film safety instructions. He's like teeny tiny, he's like barely out of toddling, and it's just adorable. It's adorable. And also every bit as gory and as challenging and as provocative as you would expect. Now, feature-length movie makes a bit more sense. You've seen the shorts. For me, the biggest kind of failing with the feature-length film, and I hate to say that because I love it, is the end, where all of a sudden it's like, hold on a second, where did that come from? Why? And again, try not to spoil or anything, but when you've seen Rare Exports Inc., then it makes sense of that final section, because that is basically directly referencing, and in some ways it's almost kind of a shot by shot remake. It's of that, only with specific to that film.
I mean, there is definitely a number of tonal shifts that happen throughout it, and I mean that the final kind of little chunk does feel like it does feel like a separate short film entirely.
Yes,
like it's a little kind of it's a little appendage onto it that's fine. I mean, I like the gag that it plays off on, and that's absolutely fine. But I mean, for me, it's the revelation of who Santa actually is that actually is the weakest part of the whole film. And I mean, it shouldn't be in a way, but it just, I don't know, it starts to feel like it's something else entirely, and it's verging really close on horror at that point. But it doesn't quite satisfy. And again, I mean, this is really hard without actually telling people what's going on. There is a sequence of many naked Santas.
I mean, and naked as the day they were born. It's elderly men with their ghoulies flapping around in the Finnish wastelands, the tundras.
I mean, I have often talked about the disparity between male and female nudity on screen, and how, you know, we need to see more cocks on screen. But I'm not sure if the sight of many naked old Santas really is quite what I had in mind.
Not what you were thinking about, no. Well, I mean, you're kind of shit out of luck in that, because I don't think there's a single female character in this film.
Oh gosh, wow. Had not even considered its complete utter failure of the Bechdel test.
There's absolutely, I mean, it doesn't even fail the Bechdel test, this one. It just
doesn't qualify,
explodes it. I mean, it launches it onto Mars. I mean, there's not even any question of the women having a conversation that doesn't involve boys or any women.
I mean, there's talk of a woman, but it's his mother who's dead. I mean, so actually I feel in the interest of CinePunk's policies on diversity and our feminist leanings, that we have to discount Rare Exports as being a good Christmas film.
I think that's unfair, and I think you're being unnecessarily I think it's condescending towards women to say that films cannot be feminist if this is not. I'm absolutely. I haven't got a leg to stand on here.
Rachel realizing as she talks that someone will take that soundbite and stick it online.
Circle that background. There's nowhere for me to go.
So this is one of those occasions where we're actually having a CinePunked film that we like, but we can't approve of.
I don't think that's fair, though.
Kind of is, though, isn't it?
I mean,
there is no reason why there couldn't have been female figures within this film, because those characters, I mean, now fair enough, I don't know what Finnish society is like, but I imagine for all these men to be around, there has to be some women in the process as well. So you have made a choice of excluding them from their lives entirely.
At least one of them's dead. And probably fairly recently dead. I think that scene between Etteri and his dad is incredibly effective, because at no point does anybody say, you know, isn't it a shame that Mum died this year?
So, I mean, for the benefit of listeners, because I feel like this is also, because this is in Finnish, I can't even sound clip this the way that we normally do.
It wouldn't work.
I mean, it'll be fine. I can sound clip it, but unless you speak Finnish, you will not know what's going on, because it's not a dubbed film. But there's a lovely scene. There's a lovely scene at the table. It's Christmas Eve-ish.
It's not. It's the day before Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve-ish.
23rd of December. Get it right. Come on.
That's Christmas Eve-ish.
Ish.
Yes, Christmas Eve-ish. But they're sitting there, and they're at the dining table, and they're eating gingerbread. And the little boy says to Dad, "That's just like how Mum used to make." how much, and talks about how much he's enjoying it. And it is very definitely a lovely, lovely, tender moment between father and son, and also a tacit acknowledgement of loss and the difficulties that they've had.
Chad's eyes just fill up with tears, and nobody acknowledges anything, and it's just the rawness of that loss is completely unspoken, but it's a presence between the two of them. And I don't think, that it takes a lot of courage as a writer, and I think I'm not an actor, but I know as a writer to have the confidence in the viewer to actually pick up the unspoken story there. Clearly she hasn't been gone for very long. It's all incredibly raw, and they're doing their best, and this is likely their first Christmas without her.
I could definitely buy that. Yeah,
and I think that the confidence that takes, and the assurance for those actors as well, to kind of sell it as hard as that, without ever feeling the need to go, oh, this time last year she was X, Y, and Z, or this is our first Christmas without her, etc., etc. But just to let the audience understand that purely from the way his eyes fill up with tears. And nothing is asked of the little boy beyond just delivering his lines. He's a great actor, I think. Oni Tomala, Yorma Tomala is a fabulous actor as well.
I mean, there are some lovely moments between them. The father does regularly show himself to be quite concerned and protective, but also trying to give the kid its independence.
Yes.
So whenever things go wrong, you see him kind of stepping in and trying to protect. Although we also get to see the kid is far more like an adult at times than the adults are. Down to his. The kid is basically the Kurt Russell character in the film, really. By the end,
that's because the kid understands, and that's when I say this is not a cynical film. This is what I mean by it, because the kid is able to save the day because he believes in Father Christmas. And because he believes in Father Christmas, he is able to recognize what is going on and to basically bring everybody else to line and know what needs to be done. It's his idea that gets them, spoiler, that gets them through in the end. Because he believes in Father Christmas, and everyone takes the piss. I mean, Yuso, I hope I'm saying that right, the friend, basically just like rips the arse out of him, going, oh, you don't still believe. Because, he's going, that's Father Christmas's tomb, that's what they're talking about. And Yuso's like, no, it's not, it'd be ridiculous. And everybody's like, Petrie, catch a grip, don't be ridiculous, naughty list, nice list, whatever. He's right. And because he is open to believing in Father Christmas, because he still carries the magic of Christmas in his heart, that's how he's able to save the day in true, spectacular, die-hard fashion.
I mean, there's definitely a kind of sci-fi Kurt Russell vibe that's undeniable. I mean, like, I swear, folks, you watch this and tell me you don't think of, it's the thing. It is the thing, but there's also.
I haven't seen the thing. I will at some point.
Every time we do this show, I mean, I realize that there are there's just assumptions I make about other people's knowledge, and I'm just like, what? How are we even friends? There is I think it's mixed though with what is in vogue at the moment as folk horror. And it's that belief in an awareness of the traditions and the folklore.
Very much your alley. I'm surprised you didn't love this as much as I do.
I like the film. I like the film a lot. And there's stuff I like, but I think it's also a bit of a mess.
Oh, how very dare you.
It shifts just maybe once too much.
It's a glorious collision of genre. It's playful, ludic postmodernism.
When they are out in the fields for the first half of the movie, I'm totally with it. There's it's quite eerie. It's slightly disturbing. There's an ever present sense of fear and something untoward, things that we can't see. And that's all the more difficult when you're literally in a white landscape where anything is shown up very, very clearly. So the threats are real. I quite like that kind of X-Filey vibe, and that works for me very well. It's when it starts to move towards the kind of the denouement, it moves towards the city and populations, and then it becomes another film.
Oh, it goes bonkers in the third act.
And it's just...
You see, to me that works. How else do you end it? Go big or go home?
Well, it definitely goes big. Definitely goes big. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those films though that like I can't imagine it's going to be on my regular rewatch list, but I'm not against seeing it again. Now, oddly enough, I mean, about a week before I had watched this, or just a few days beforehand, I watched a more recent film called Fat Man.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it.
It's got Mel Gibson in it, which I realise for some people now is a kind of no-go area. He's actually very good in it. And
he's a very good actor. He's just got some very questionable views.
He does.
He's happy to share with the world.
he does, but I mean, it's an interesting film, and it presents again an alternate view of Santa Claus and the mythology, and it feels like this. It's a bit darker. It's a bit more remote. And again, I wasn't 100% satisfied with it either, and it does mix genres. I mean, it's like almost like a gangster movie. But Hitman and Santa Claus is just like, what the fuck?
Is it Kiss Save Christmas?
Well, everything's to save Christmas, really, isn't it? I mean, even Rare Exports is really to save Christmas.
Yes, but did you get my reference? I did a Family Guy reference. The Family Guy Christmas special where they have Kiss Saves Christmas. No? Okay. The Night the Reindeer Died is another reference that I could do at this point to show that I've watched a lot of Christmas movies.
Well, that was the title of our Christmas special.
It was, yeah. It was, yeah.
Well done. Have you listened to one of our podcasts in the last 4 years?
No.
Oh dear. Thank you, Ambassador. Yeah, look, it's
how my voice sounds.
It's not going to be one that I will rewatch, but it's interesting. I like the fact that this alternate to soapy saccharine, beautiful white American kids, basically. Like having something that's a bit different. I mean, this feels very rough.
Yes.
But
some year I'm going to make you watch Prancer. I just don't want to talk about it because I'll cry.
Who knows what's in store for 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about it?
Just that it's amazing and everybody should see it, but you should also probably first, I suppose, watch the shorts. They are available on YouTube. I don't know whether that's legal, okay or not, because it doesn't seem very official. Places that I found them on YouTube, so I don't know whether they have permission to share. But I was able to watch both of them perfectly easily, and they're just great. They're great. Set this film up. I think having seen those will give you a greater richness of enjoyment of watching Rare Exports. And see, I did it completely the wrong way around. I watched Big Game first in the cinema, and then a couple of years after that, my husband said to me, look, I've just found, because we saw it in the cinema together, I've just found the guys who did Big Game, that we both were like, what is this? This is mad. I think I like it, but it's crazy. They've done another film, and it's a Christmas film, and I think we have to watch it. So then I watched that, and then after that I watched the two shorts. Okay. So I think really that's the exact opposite way around that you should do this. You should watch the two shorts, then you should watch Rare Exports, and then thereafter you should watch Big Game. And also just see the evolution of little Annie Tomala throughout, from just this tiny cherubic little sort of post-toddler through to hulking teenager. And yeah, just embrace the chaos. I think Almari Helander is, I mean, he's won all kinds of awards. I think he's got a really, really interesting understanding of and grasp of genre. I really like it when directors, Edgar Wright's one of my favourite directors, because you have to understand genre at a very fundamental level to be able to play with it to that extent. And I think he's more successful in rare exports with that kind of genre mixing than the game. I don't think the game really knows what it is other than just let's throw loads of money at the screen and just blow shit up. And also have Samuel L. Jackson being just he's obviously in one of his, do you know what, fuck it, I'll do this one moods. And together, see it all together, I just think it's a hell of a ride.
While we're here, Santa Claus in this is not it's not the happiest, not the friendliest of characters in this. What are your feelings about Santa Claus himself? I mean, not necessarily in the film, but are you do you find Santa Claus creepy?
Robert, it's as we speak, it's 11 days to Christmas. He's listening. As if I would say a bad word against him at this point. I don't want coal in my stocking.
I mean, I feel like that's the creepiest thing you could possibly say. It's like, I can't say anything because he's watching me and he's listening. And he's just like, it's not right.
Father Christmas is my favourite human, or non-human, or, yeah.
Oh, Dr. Kelly.
Look, it's December, okay? I believe like hell all the way through December.
Okay. Look, I think we're going to wrap it up there for this one. It's going to be a nice short one for listeners. You'll be surprised. So apologies for the fact that we've been on a little bit of a break. We have been doing some other stuff if you're a regular, including our involvement with Accidental Theatre in Belfast and their Never Seen It Film Club, which has also produced a slightly irregular podcast, but we'll see where that goes. So you may have two podcasts to listen to in 2023 if you haven't already picked up on the other one. But we're hopefully going to be doing a bit more from now on. So
well, just me watching Christmas films and I'll turn up every week.
You say that now. I know what'll happen 3 weeks down the line about Rachael, so we're going to say you're like, I can't do it. I'm busy.
All you
have children.
To do is pick the Christmas film, and around these parts they called me the Christmas fairy.
By the parts, do you mean like that green and red bedecked room that you're currently sitting in?
Those are the curtains. The whole room doesn't look like this.
I mean, I wish people could see this, because it's just like the most festively appropriate setting for you with your lovely red hair. Mm-hmm. So we'll be back very, very soon, hopefully with some more stuff. So if you don't already, do hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're on. Keep an eye on our website, it's cinepunked.com, and check us out on social medias as well. We're CinePunked Film on Instagram and CinePunked pretty much everywhere else. We do have a TikTok now as well, but I haven't really started using it. Yeah, we do.
We're so cool.
At some point we might get around to actually TikToking stuff. But like,
Robert, we're both in our 40s.
there's some of our membership
like to be on TikTok.
Yeah, there's old fogey TikTok. I mean,
okay, well, we should probably find that then.
So whatever you're doing for Christmas, do have a great time, do enjoy it, and don't forget to hit like, subscribe, follow, stalk, etc. Rachael, thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Yes, and Merry Christmas one and all.
Good night, folks.